crisis. Journalist Yuma Raki unveils the transformation of Japan's social and political identity in Deciphering Japan, and relive the history of the Chinese Communist Party as it marks 100 years of existence. This June on CMA. This is Asia Now.
It is 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi and 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Jill Neubronner. At this hour, Australia's state of Victoria will enter its fourth lockdown since the start of the pandemic. China accuses the US of politicizing the pandemic after President Biden orders further investigations into the origins of COVID-19. The cyclone Yas kills 5 people and leaves a trail of destruction in India's eastern states. Odisha says it will screen those who have been evacuated for COVID-19. Australia has placed its second most populous state of Victoria under another snap lockdown. It will last for a week, starting at midnight tonight. Melbourne is facing a surge in COVID-19 infections. Officials say there's growing evidence that they are dealing with the highly infectious B1617 variant first detected in India. Authorities have also blamed hotel quarantine failures and slow vaccine rollout. Now, this is the fourth time Victoria has been placed under lockdown since the pandemic began. The Victorian government has described the next week as a circuit breaker to allow contact tracers to get on top of cases. The new restrictions will see a ban on public gatherings. Residents can only leave their homes for essential reasons, which includes getting vaccinated. Most students will move to remote learning. Victoria has reported 12 new cases, 11 in Melbourne. To prevent further contagion, Prime Minister Scott Morrison is urging all who are eligible to get vaccinated.
There are ample vaccines for those who will come forward and receive those vaccines in Victoria. And our simple message to you, to them is to please come forward and do that.
Brianna Piazza with more on Australia's inoculation drive and why officials are blaming the latest outbreak on vaccination hesitancy.
The vaccine rollout has been fraught with difficulties from the very beginning for Australia. So already since this latest outbreak, we're starting to see vaccination hubs in Victoria getting busier. So it seems to have actually pushed more people to get vaccinated, which is what authorities want to see. We heard earlier today from Acting Premier James Merlino that had more Victorians actually been vaccinated in this case, then we may not be potentially facing another lockdown like we are now. So that could have really changed the situation. The issue that we're dealing with in terms of the vaccination drive is it's not just a slow rollout, but we're also seeing increasing hesitancy among the population to get vaccinated. And then in addition to that, complacency. So we have people who are saying, well, if we don't have many cases of COVID in Australia, then what's the point in getting vaccinated? There's no real urgent need. So that is definitely something that authorities hope the latest outbreak will change that sense of complacency.
China says politicizing the origins of COVID-19 would hamper further investigations and undermine global efforts to curb the pandemic. That's in response to US President Joe Biden's call for a closer look into the origins of the virus. Mr. Biden has ordered intelligence agencies to review the information on how the virus emerged. He wants to report a report within 90 days, and he specifically asked to focus on whether the source was from an animal host or a laboratory. The Chinese embassy in the US says some political forces have been fixated on political manipulation and the blame game. It adds that it supports a comprehensive study of all early cases of COVID-19 found worldwide and a thorough investigation into secretive bases and biological laboratories. This latest war of words follows fresh speculation about a lab leak in China, which Beijing has denied repeatedly. The WHO in February visited the lab in question, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It concluded a lab leak was extremely unlikely, but did not rule it out. This week, the Wall Street Journal reported 3 researchers from the lab became sick in November 2019. That is a month before China first alerted the WHO to a mysterious pneumonia outbreak.
China wasn't transparent enough. We have been saying that for a very long time, that China needed to provide more access to the lab.
Simon Marks tells us what is driving the Biden administration to launch the probe at this moment.
Well, I think it's certainly a response to days of questions that reporters were asking and questions that some members of Congress were raising following the publication by the Wall Street Journal of those reports. President Biden's press secretary has been asked relentlessly by reporters for several days now why he is not pushing for a greater degree of investigation into whether the laboratory in Wuhan may have been responsible for COVID-19. In his statement today, it was notable that he spoke about the possibility of an accident in the lab. Notable also that he made it clear, revealed effectively, that there is a division among his top intelligence advisors as to whether COVID-19 originated as a result of an accident in that laboratory or whether it originated in the wet market in Wuhan. So he's giving them 90 days to try and make a final unanimous determination. And at the White House today, the president's press secretary and then some of his top public health advisors made it absolutely clear that they believe that more work now needs to be done by both the US and China.
We need to get to the bottom of this, and we need a completely transparent process from China. We need the WHO to assist in that matter. We don't feel like we have that now. We need to get to the bottom of this, whatever the answer may be.
Because we don't know 100% what the origin is, it's imperative that we look and we do an investigation.
Very interesting that Dr. Anthony Fauci is backing all of this, because over recent weeks he has remained skeptical about the possibility that COVID-19 originated in that lab, mounting pressure then on China to do more to assist in the investigation. And President Biden saying to his intelligence chiefs, the clock's ticking. You've got 90 days to reach a conclusion and solve the mystery.
Well, America's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says there is still a higher likelihood of the pandemic having occurred naturally, but further investigation is needed.
It happened with virtually all the influenza pandemics. So the historical basis for pandemics evolving naturally from an animal reservoir is extremely strong. And it's for that reason that we felt that something similar like this has a much higher likelihood. But again, getting back to what I said, and let me repeat so there's no lack of clarity in that, no one knows, not even I, 100% at this point, which is the reason why we are in favor of further investigation.
India's Odisha state will screen 650,000 people for COVID-19 symptoms after they were evacuated from the path of Cyclone Yas. A local official says COVID-19 precautions were observed during the evacuation process and masks were distributed. Odisha and West Bengal are among some of the worst-hit states by the powerful storm. At least 5 people are dead. Tens of thousands of homes have been destroyed. More than 2 million people were evacuated in the 2 states. Authorities have warned it will be a huge challenge to maintain social distancing at shelters against the backdrop of the pandemic.
बुकिंग करी माँकर मो जेजेमा माने वैक्सीन होगा बट माने आज डेट देले किंतु आज एबे आसिक आम फेरिकी जाऊँ कि आज ना एक्सटेंड कर देइछंती बात्या 3 दिन।
You see there, Cyclone Yas made landfall yesterday, carrying winds